Okay, so we are recording right now. I want to welcome you guys again to Blogging Made Easy. This is about an hour call, and we try very hard to keep you guys on times to respect your schedules as much as possible. Usually, what happens on these calls is we talk for about 45 minutes. We share really great, valuable information, and then we open up the phone lines. Not the phone line, sorry. We open up the webinar for questions. So I want to thank you guys for being here. I know that your schedule is super busy, and the mere fact that you took this hour out of your time to learn a little bit more about this important subject called blogging. I know for some of you guys that it is like a deer in the headlight look, and for some of you guys know a little bit more about it. So everybody's at a little different level, but I can guarantee you're going to learn a lot today from Nikki. We will definitely send you this recording at the end of this call as well. So if you guys will also notice, there is a section called questions that should be popping up on your screen, and hopefully all of you guys are on the computers on your computer so you can see it. There's a box. So please type your questions in that box so that we can answer those questions. Feel free to type them in at any time. And toward the end, I will moderate getting all of those to Nikki. I did want to let you know that on this webinar, we're going to give you a ton of content that you can use right away. We've built that in to include some valuable information that not only, like I said, you can implement right away, but also that we want to let you know how valuable this is to your business just from an SEO standpoint, and actually how easy it is for you to do. Nikki can only cover so much in about 60 minutes, so most likely you're going to want to take it a little bit further with her, or you're going to want some more information. So we're going to let you know more about her and her services toward the end. So right now, I really just want you guys to sit back and relax and just focus on her really great content. Let me tell you a little bit about Chef Nikki. Chef Nikki is in my Master Chef program, and she has a very interesting story. And I know that I'm going to kind of let her tell that story to you guys. But the fascinating thing about Nikki is Nikki really thinks outside the box. She really figured out that you don't just have to stand behind your stove in order to be a chef, that there's so many other ideas and things that you can do in culinary in order to follow your dreams and make money. And this is actually one of the things we teach in my Master Chef program, which is a 6-month program. And so Nikki has just developed some amazing offerings around blogging, and she has such a heart for teaching. So I am going to turn it over to Nikki, and I'm going to let her have it and go for it, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Deb. Can you hear me okay?
Can.
Wonderful. Okay. So I am very excited to be here, and I'm sure Deb can attest to this. I've been looking forward to this for about a month. It's like Christmas for me today. And that's just because I'm really passionate about sharing my experiences and my knowledge with other chefs and wellness professionals. And I've been doing this for quite some time, but as Deb mentioned, my story is a little bit unique. So I basically went from advertising to culinary school to blog writer. And it all started around 2003. I graduated from Monmouth University with a degree in business and communications. And my aspiration was to write the next cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I thought for sure I was going to write for a brand like Kellogg or a big cereal company. I loved advertising and I loved the food space, and I probably watched a lot of Saturday morning TV, which prompted me to, like I said, want to write for cereal and something big and loud. But instead, I actually ended up landing my first job as a writer and editor in a pharmaceutical advertising agency. So completely different than what I intended. But I was really grateful for this experience because when you work in the pharmaceutical space, It's very technical, and you learn a lot of really great technical writing skills really fast. And that has been something that's really carried through my entire career. It's just having that sharp eye. In pharmaceutical, I mean, it comes down to legalities. So every comma, every italicized word, every phrase really matters. And that's really where I started to have a deep appreciation for the written word. But after a few years working for some agencies, I knew that pharma wasn't exactly for me. So I started freelancing a little bit, as writers do, and I eventually got a job working for Macy's. And as a retail copywriter, I got to write for a multitude of mediums, from email blasts to copy for newsletters, magazines, TV, radio. And if you've ever been to Herald Square in New York, I used to also write for the Jumbotron on 34th Street, so that was a little bit of my claim to fame. But throughout this whole experience, I started to get, really stressed out. My digestion wasn't working well. A dormant dairy allergy just really started to come back in full force. And I knew I had to make some changes. So while I was working for Macy's, I discovered the Natural Gourmet Institute, and I think some natural gourmeters are on this call, so a little shout out to them. And that is really where I discovered this love and passion for healing and cooking to live. So by the time I graduated, I was still working, and I was also interning at the Green Table in Chelsea Market, and I started to do even a little bit of editing for a pastry chef, a vegan pastry chef. So I had all these things rolling, and then next thing you know, my husband's job gets transferred to London. So we moved to London, and this is actually where I really started to blog, because I was living overseas for the first time. I thought it was going to be pretty easy, but there was a lot of trials and tribulations and funny stories. So just to kind of journal this experience and share it with my friends and family back home, I wrote a blog called Life as a Londoner. And in addition to that, I was studying at some macrobiotic retreat centers. I was still writing, cooking, kind of doing a little bit of everything. And eventually I started my own first business, Nikki's Healing Kitchen. I worked as a health coach, and eventually I transitioned that Life as a Londoner blog to a health and wellness blog. And after 2 years of doing that, we moved back to New York. And this was really about the time when I started to discover that I can pull together two of my passions, one being writing and the other being cooking. Because up until that point, I was pretty much doing them very separately. I was writing for companies, and then I was cooking for clients. So when I started to realize that there was this niche developing, I was really excited. I started to just tell people, hey, I'm also an editor. So some of my health coaching friends would ask me if I would edit recipes for them, if I would edit detox books or 21-day cleanses, and I really enjoyed it. And when I first landed back in New York, I got to write actually test a couple of recipes for Eric and Jessica Childs and their book Kombucha, and that was probably one of the most favorite things that I've done to date. It was really, really awesome experience. I also got to edit a novel for a health coach, and just a lot of fun projects started to fall on my plate when I really started to discover this passion. And after a few years back in New York, my husband and I, being the venturers that we are, we decided that we were going to shut everything down, go on a cross-country road trip, and start fresh. So while I was traveling across country, I started my third blog called The Uprooted Chef. And I was traveling to different farms, and I was trying different foods, and I was writing about it, and I was, for the first time, really maintaining consistency with my blog. And through this trip, and of course working with Deb, it really inspired me to make culinary writing not just a little side project, but the main aspect of my business. So in addition to writing blogs for my clients, I've written some other articles for publications like Mind Body Green. I write for a health and wellness site called YafiLife.com. And as I mentioned, I work about 20% with personal chef clients, and the rest of the time I am working as an editor and blog writer, most specifically in the culinary field. And that's why we're here today. So on the call, we're going to talk about why blogging is so important and becoming one of the best marketing tools for your business. We're also going to address what I like to call the F word, which is fear. We're going to discuss the meaning of success and setting expectations. And then we're going to dive into my 4 fearless blogging tips. And as Deb mentioned, I'm going to share a little gift with you at the end, tell you a little bit about what I do, and then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. So please take note of anything that comes up for you, and I am more than happy to answer anything that comes to mind. Now, I just want you to know that you are in the right place. Whether or not you have blogged in the past or not, I'm not sure. You may be wondering, do I actually need a blog? Does it really matter what I have to say? Or what do I say when I feel like I have nothing to say? How do I set up my site? What do I write about? Are images really necessary? How do I overcome writer's block? These are a lot of questions that come up for people, especially if you're a chef and you're not really a writer. You might wonder, how am I going to put all these pieces together? So if you have these questions or these fears around blogging, I just want you to know that I'm here to help you get started and stay consistent, and we're going to take care of all of that for you. Now, I realized that when I jumped in with my bio, it sounded like there were, a world of successes. I work for this agency. I started this blog. But full disclosure, when I first started out, I was really inconsistent with my blog. My images weren't great. I never planned what I was going to say, so my blogs never really told much of a story about me or my message. But the one thing I learned, even from the very, very beginning, was that when I hit on something that was really important to my readers, even the few that I'd had, all of a sudden I noticed comments come up in the comment section, or shares and likes on Facebook. Or when I thought nobody was looking or reading, suddenly I'd bump into somebody, or I'd go to my yoga studio and I'd hear, hey, I made a Buddha bowl last night because I saw it on your blog, or I started drinking lemon water in the morning because I read about it on your blog. So even in these early days, when I really thought no one was watching what I was doing, I soon discovered that what I was saying was important, and what I was saying was actually resonating with people. And I realized that, hey, there's really a lot of ways you can leverage this blog in your marketing efforts, because as your readers start to see these delicious recipes and your beautiful images, and they learn all about you, they're going to start to get really excited about who you are and what you offer. They're going to see pictures of your food. They're going to want to try it. Most importantly, they're going to start to trust you and engage with you. And that engagement is really, really important. For me, some of the engagement actually was being approached by Herbamar, which is a seasoning and spice blend. They contacted me and asked if I would create a recipe or two for them. I was contacted by a social media company in New York to write some blogs for them. So through doing my own personal blog, I started to establish this credibility. And suddenly people wanted to know more about me. And when you establish credibility and people are suddenly interested in you, that's when you start to open up that space to conversion. And that conversion is what's really, really important to your business. So that is why blogging is actually becoming one of the top online marketing tools to attract your ideal client to your website and keep them engaged. So we're going to do a little visualization. So if you close your eyes and just kind of let your mind go. Now just imagine that your ideal clients are busy professional women in their 30s to 40s who don't have time to cook. They search around Google. Now they stumble upon your website. They're going to find one of two scenarios. One is a website with general information about your services. You have a couple of tabs, contact me, about me, here are my services. They read about you, and likely they're going to move on to the next. Now they stumble upon another website. They find similar information, those same tabs, but they see that there's a blog. 90% of the time, people are going to go and check out that blog because it's interesting. And if they go to your blog and they find that it's updated, it tells them that you're actively working in your business every day. There's not crickets. Your last post wasn't in 2014. You are actively in your business on a daily basis and you care about it. 2, they're going to find that it has content that attracts them and excites them, because essentially that's who you're writing for. You're writing for these ideal clients. And if you're lucky, they might bookmark a recipe or a tip that they can try. So in that second scenario, you've started a relationship with this visitor. In the virtual world, you've essentially welcomed her into your online home, invited her in for a cup of tea, and provided her with useful information and advice to help her improve her life. Now let's just say she does try that recipe. She loves it. She's going to come back for more. Or she's going to try the recipe, love it, and share it with all of her friends. Now you've started to create a community of people that trust you. You've also turned out to be just what that client needed at the right time. So with those 2 scenarios in mind, which site do you think has a better chance of converting this client? The general site, or the site that really helped her with really great content or a recipe, or to get through a tough weekend, or kept her entertained on her lunch hour, whatever the case might be? And these are just a couple reasons why blogging is so important. It's not really an added bonus anymore. Websites without blogs are really missing something special. So while it's important just to get the blog up, it's also just as important to maintain consistency and to really exude your personality so that you can start to carve out a niche for yourself with your clients. And an active blog really does help to invite engagement, conversation, and connection. And it's these 3 things that are going to turn into conversion down the line. So just to review, the goal of your blog is to attract your ideal clients to your website, invite that engagement, conversation, and connection. In doing that, you're going to start a relationship with your visitors and create a comfortable space for them where they can begin to trust. And then you're going to acquire some signups for your newsletter to build your list. And lastly, you're really going to increase your credibility and your opportunity to convert clients. And that means, more money for you. More clients is exactly what every entrepreneur dreams of. Now, I don't want you to panic, because when we're going to get into all of this information, it might seem like a lot. And what you should know is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you sit down to create a blog post. And Chef Monica, if you're on the call, she said something that really resonated with me a couple weeks ago. She said, the enemy of good enough is better. And that is really where a lot of people get caught up, is thinking, but my blog can be better, my blog can be better. You kind of tinker to death. And this really is a side effect of fear. Like I said, fear is a 4-letter word, and I hear this all the time, especially in the blogging and writing space, and marketing too. There's a fear of putting yourself out there, a fear of not knowing enough, a fear of technology, a fear of not being a good writer, fear that no one will read your work, fear that you're going to make a mistake. I don't know if you're shaking your head over there, but these are definitely fears that I've heard from a lot of people over time. And an interesting fear that a lot of people have too is that you're going to end up having more clients than you can handle. And I know that off the top of your head you might think, no way, more clients are better. But sometimes we do have that small fear that, oh my God, what am I going to do when I attract all of these clients? Because that might just happen when you really start rolling with your blog. And I think Marianne Williamson put it best when she said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? I'm going to add in an amazing chef, a great health coach. But actually, who are you not to be? So this is really about owning your power. And I ask you to consider these fears when you're just starting out, and not to keep you stuck and cycling through them, but to help you face them and create some awareness around them. Because when you know what you fear, you can work to move forward and move through it and not let it keep you grounded. And if you shine light on your fears, you're one step closer to blog writing success. The fearless tips that we're going to talk about today are really intended to provide practical tips that will help to quiet those voices, the voices of I can't, I shouldn't, I don't have time, and all the other excuses that we often come up with when we're afraid. And I can tell you right now, I don't even know you, but I do know it doesn't matter if you understand HTML code, if you think you don't have anything to say, or if you're self-conscious about your writing skills. I know that you have everything it takes inside of you to provide enriching content to your ideal clients. And I think it's really important to note that your ideal clients really need you. I know a lot of people would rather just stick to cooking or just stick to working with their clients, but you can help people just the same through the written word, either by giving them great tips or letting them know about you. So blogging and marketing is just as important as getting behind the stove. And when you think about it that way, when you think about it less as, like this writing exercise or this business thing that you have to do, when you think about it as relationship building, and you get really clear on why you're doing it and to whom you're speaking, the whole idea of blogging gets a lot more comforting and a lot more exciting. So we're going to start by going over the meaning of success. And as a writer, I love, love, love definitions. So another way to move through our fear is to manage our expectations, and this is pretty huge. Now, as you know, the name of the webinar is 4 Fearless Tips to Start a Successful Blog. And now I want to tell you what I mean by successful blog. In the beginning, success may mean accomplishing your goal of just starting the blog and maintaining it weekly. That's huge. It may mean attracting a few new Facebook likes. It may mean more engagement on your website in the form of comments or emails. And it may also mean phone calls from prospective clients. It really depends on where you are in your business and how well you know and speak to your ideal clients. And the reason I bring this up is because we live in a day and age where we just expect instant gratification. And if we're not getting likes and comments and all this stuff immediately, we suddenly think, you know what, we're not cut out for this. I'm not cut out for this. I suck. I'm not good at blog writing. But that's actually not the case. Good, monetized, award-winning blogs take a lot of time to develop. So in other words, those small achievements you yield over time are actually really important. It's just like setting up your business. It's small steps every single day that will yield big results down the line. So if you start your blog and in a couple weeks or in a month, you know, the only person commenting on your blog is your grandma, that's totally okay. It's totally okay because it will get better and it will change. You just need to give it time to really start to work itself out, to really find your voice. So just remember to take it step by step and to congratulate yourself on all the little steps you take. That way you don't get caught up in thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm just going to stop doing it altogether, because that would be one of the biggest detriments you can do in your business. So with that, let's get started on our first of the 4 fearless tips. Number 1, build your virtual home. So hey, if you don't have a website or you don't have a blog, go on and start one. You can start one right after this call. I may be making it sound easier said than done, but I'm not kidding you, it really is that easy. You can set up a blog on WordPress, blogger.com, Tumblr. There might be others out there, but these are the ones that I've personally heard about the most, and I would say that I really strongly would recommend WordPress over any of the others. And if you don't currently have a website, but you think you're going to want one down the line, you can start a blog on WordPress.com, and then you can transfer it over to a WordPress website later. So that's really something to consider from now. So let's talk about exactly how you're going to do this. You're going to go to WordPress.com. There's a button that's going to say Start a Blog. You're going to click on that. You're going to select a template and enter a domain name. If you'd like to keep the blog free, the domain name is going to include /WordPress. So for example, the Intuition Kitchen /WordPress. Now it's a little more difficult for people to find you when you have that extension. So if you want to have yourbusinessname.com, like the Intuition Kitchen.com, last I checked, it's about $18.99 per year. So it's pretty worth it for, less than 20 bucks to get a .com. Now, before obviously you set up your website, you're going to want to make sure that the domain name you really want isn't taken. So I've traditionally gone to GoDaddy.com. You plug in the name that you like, you'll find out if it's available. I will caution that sometimes these sites like GoDaddy will see if people are consistently interested in a particular name, and then they'll end up swooping it up and then trying to sell it to you for a much larger fee. And that kind of happened to me over the summer. So if you want a name and you like it, check it and get it immediately. Then after that, you're just going to continue to follow the step-by-step instructions on WordPress or whatever site you use, and you're all set. And if you're still kind of tripped up, there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube. You can literally just Google set up blog on WordPress and you will get a ton of results, YouTube videos, etc. It's a really, really straightforward process. You do not need to be technically advanced to take care of that. Now let's just say you already have a website. A lot of website templates have a built-in blogging option. I used to use a template, and on the dashboard I was able to hide and show my blog simply by clicking a button. Green light blog was on, green light off, blog was hidden. So if you don't have a blog that's visible right now, you can go to the back end of your dashboard and just see if it's as easy as turning it on. It really might be that simple. Now, if you want to create a website with a blog from scratch, or maybe you want a more stylized blog, or you have a templated website, but you don't see an easy option to add a blog into it like you had hoped, you can hire a web designer to help you along. I had a designer create my travel blog. The first few blogs I did myself, and honestly, they didn't look great. But I learned from that, and when I did my third blog, I was like, you know what, I just want this to look awesome. So I had a designer take care of that for me, and as I mentioned before, when she went on to build my main website, she transferred the blogs from the Uprooted Chef to the Intuition Kitchen, and it seemed pretty seamless. So hiring help is a really good option if you do have that fear of technology, if you want a professional look and feel, and you're just too busy to like tinker around and try to figure it out. That's completely understandable. So if you want any help trying to find a great designer, there are designers out there at all prices. They're not all going to charge you an arm and a leg. I've worked with a really great designer throughout, like I said, the past year. So if you need any recommendations, you can email me, Nikki at theintuitionkitchen.com, and I'm happy to give you a couple of names if you're really ready for a designer. So again, that's Nikki at theintuitionkitchen.com. Okay, so once your site is up, it's like a home. You're going to want to decorate it accordingly. So as I mentioned before, a great title or domain name that really represents yourself in the blog. A headshot. As you can see, if you have the slides up, this is the headshot that I use. And I will say, try to use a headshot that speaks to who you are as a professional. So, I'm a culinary writer. Here I am at the grocery store. There's, lemons and oranges behind me. I'm shopping. It's traditionally what I look like when I go shopping. So if you're a restaurant chef or, you wear your whites every day to work, wear that in your image. If you're a health coach, maybe you want a picture, nice, beautiful picture behind a desk or with a client, something to that effect. Just really showcase who you are as a professional. The next thing you'll want to add is just some general images, if you have some great food shots or any other images you have, just to make it visually appealing. We'll talk about images a little bit more later. And then an About Me section that generally explains who you are. And I really would say, try to make this as fun and as full of your personality as possible, because while people are coming to your site for your content or to learn more about what you do as a professional, they're also coming there for you specifically. There's a lot of chefs out there in the world. Why should they work with you, or why should they work with you? And that's really going to be answered in your About Me, because they resonate who you are as a person or your style of cooking. So really flesh out that About Me section and make it fun. Then it's up to you, but a lot of people like to add a blurb about their blog. So something that says a little something about what they can expect to read about. So mine is seasonal recipes, sustainable ingredients, and simple living tips from my intuition kitchen to yours. That just gives them an idea of your platform, teases them a little bit. And then last but not least, definitely add links to your social media channels. That way people can like, share, pin, post. And essentially when people are doing that, they're acting as your digital marketing team. So your fans are really going to help to promote you through your social media channels. You can share something once, but other people, can end up sharing it, and then they share it. And next thing you know, you're reaching people that you never knew before. So be sure that all your social media links are in there. Now, once your blog or your virtual home is set up, you can move into fearless tip number 2, which is creating great content. And this is a big one. So we are going to spend quite a bit of time here, and we're going to dive right in. So many people get caught up in thinking that they don't have anything to say all the time. They stare at a blank screen for hours, and this is the I don't know enough fear rearing its head. But I can tell you, you do know enough, and I'm pretty confident you know more about your industry than your client does. To you, a thought, an idea, a recipe, it might be really commonplace, but to someone else, it could be completely life-changing. And I'm going to give you an example. So my family was visiting last month, and I was making dinner, and I pulled out a salad spinner to wash my lettuce, and my brother, he's domesticated, married adult, completely geeked out. He was like, "What is that?" He got so excited, and I explained it to him, and I showed him how to use it, and I had no idea why he was so perplexed and excited about a salad spinner. Like, to me, it's just this thing that I use every day in my job. But the point is that people know the ins and outs of their industry, but they likely don't know the ins and outs of yours. So even something seemingly simple, like, "Hey guys, this is a salad spinner, and this is how you can use it, this is how it could save you time," could be huge to somebody else. And by the way, my brother is getting a salad spinner for his birthday, which is on Saturday, because I'm telling you, he's that stoked about it. So where to find great content? As I mentioned just before, it's literally all around you. And if you don't think you have great content, you're probably missing it. Client testimonials, new recipes you've created, a kitchen gadget that saves you time, a catering menu that they can use for their next party, menu planning tips, energizing breakfasts such as, quick smoothies or meals they can take on the go. Share with them what you eat before a cook day or at the end of a cook day. You can do a roundup of your favorite recipes from other bloggers. If you go to my website, which is theintuitionkitchen.com, and you take a look at my 1 cabbage 3 ways recipe, you can see how I did that roundup. I did not include the actual recipe in my blog. Instead, I included links to some great recipes. That helps to promote not only the food blogger, but it also helps you to provide some great recipes to your clients without particularly having to create all of those recipes.
You'll like it. It'll be fine. It's fine.
I will disclaim, though, that in terms of adding recipes to your website, that is a little bit of a gray area. You cannot take someone's recipe verbatim and put it into your blog. Instead, what you have to do is adapt it. Usually that requires changing at least 3 things pretty significantly, and then you still give credit to the author. So that's just something to think about, because I know a lot of people will just share recipes verbatim, and it's typically frowned upon because that's somebody else's content. So you can link to their site, or you can adapt a recipe. You just can't add it word for word. But those are just some cool ways that you can add content and also share some of your favorite bloggers with other people. Another great place for content is your everyday calendar. So if St. Patty's Day is coming up, it's a great time to post your client's favorite Irish beef stew recipe, or minty green smoothie recipe, something fun like that. On Earth Day, you can share composting tips. 4th of July last year, I blogged about a yogurt parfait recipe. It featured strawberries, blueberries, yogurt. It looked like a flag. It was relevant to what was going on in people's lives. So play off of that and think about what tips, recipes, and information you can offer that will be really exciting and useful. Because remember, your clients need you, and it's your responsibility to help them by sharing what you know. So again, some new ideas for holidays coming up. How to be kosher and gluten-free for Passover. That's pretty tricky. People might really need your help with that. Or how to naturally dye Easter eggs. Stuff like that. You can really get creative and have a lot of fun with it, and likely it's stuff that you already know. So when you speak to what's going on in your audience's life, they're going to come back to you because the content is not only relatable, but it's also actionable. I also like to get content through things that are trending. So I follow news feeds to find out what's going on in the culinary world. On Facebook, I follow Upworthy, Chef's Collaborative, Mind Body Green. You can read reviews, interviews, op-eds, write about, what do you think about these opinion pieces, these reviews, these interviews? For example, Michael Pollan has a brand new documentary out. Maybe you watch that and talk about it, give your review, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. These topics, think about the topics that are interesting to your clients and are interesting in your industry, and give your opinion on them. Your opinion matters. Picking up magazines is an amazing, amazing exercise that you can do to populate your blog with a lot of great content. And I know you're probably at the grocery store all the time, so just pick one up or flip through them while you're there. Read the front page. You'll get a load of ideas. Headline stories really help to jar your brain because magazines do research on what's trending. So if you find a magazine that aligns with your business and see what they're saying, then you, in essence, can kind of recreate that headline to match your business. So if you're a paleo chef and you grab a paleo magazine, see what people in that sphere are talking about. I once created a vision board with clippings from magazines, and I came up with nearly 6 months of weekly blog ideas, topics, from that 1-hour exercise. So for example, I saw a headline on the cover of a magazine that said, "Comfort Foods Made Easy." So I blogged about my favorite comfort food, pizza, and I shared a healthier, gluten-free, dairy-free version that I had come up with and my clients loved. And then I just gave it a different headline, something that really resonated with me. And there you go. I had a really awesome blog idea that did pretty well. So you don't necessarily need to use the headline verbatim or, go exactly to how the article reads. Just let it give you some ideas and some fodder. So it's a really cool exercise, and I would definitely recommend trying it. And above all, it's really important to hone in on what you're trying to say and to fine-tune your content. And this is one reason that you really, just one of many, I should say, reasons to know exactly who your customer avatar is. And if you don't, I'm sure that's something that Chef Deb can absolutely help you with. But you really need to consider your target audience and what you want to tell them. So if you're a culinary adventurer, write about spices, travels, exotic recipes, kitchen tools from around the globe. If your target is moms, how can you best help them? Healthy meals for picky eaters, or how to get your kids to eat more greens. And it's so important to know your audience because a busy mom might not be interested in the latest culinary trend in Costa Rica, while an adventure seeker isn't looking for ways to sneak greens into her diet. It's just not relevant, and so you really need to hone in on what your message is. So know your market and speak to them. And if you're a little confused about what they're looking for, surveys can be really helpful. If you have a small list, just email them. Email them a couple of strategic questions and see what they say. See what they're interested in, what they want to know. If you don't really have a list or you don't feel comfortable emailing people, ask your clients next time you see them, hey, what did you love this week? What would you like to see more of? If there's any additional ways that I can help you, see what they have to say. Let them speak and just listen, and you will get some really great content, some really great ideas on where to go with your blog. Now, writer's block can be really frustrating, and this goes back to that staring at a blank screen comment that I made before, and there is nothing more frustrating. So I just want to go over a couple of quick tips for avoiding writer's block. So for one, I would really suggest carrying a notebook. I'm really old-fashioned. I like pen and paper. Carry a notebook, write down kind words from your clients, cool gadgets you discover, new techniques that save you time, something really awesome you see in the window at Williams and Sonoma, all these things. Write them down. You'll create your own little list. 2 is, as I mentioned before, creating a vision board. You can create a vision board that showcases who your ideal client is. That way when you sit down and write a blog post, you know exactly who you're speaking to. Or you can create a vision board of blog ideas based on those magazine clippings I was telling you about. There's a lot of really, really great things that you can put in a vision board that will help to jar your brain. And like I'm saying, it takes, maybe an hour's time and you'll have a lot of really cool content. And then you can also bookmark and pin great recipes and blogs that inspire you. So essentially through doing these 3 things, you're creating your own content resource, just like you might for menu planning. You might pin a great recipe, or you might tear from a magazine a great recipe so that you can make it for your client. Here, you're doing something very similar, but instead it's relating to topics that you can write about in your blog. And then from there, you're going to want to create an editorial calendar so that you can really flesh out all of these ideas so they make sense throughout the year, and again, so that they correlate with holidays and this and that and the other. So those are just a couple of quick ways to find great content. Now, once you get your great content and you write it down, you're going to need an awesome image to go along with that awesome blog post. And this one I've actually learned the hard way over the years, because we live in a very visual day and age, and people will really skip over your work on social media or your recipe on Google if they're not first visually attracted to it. So it's kind of like a first date. So, obviously it's absolutely what's on the inside that counts. But oftentimes you don't get to know a person on the inside unless you're either introduced to them or attracted to them. So let's just say you're at a bar and you experience a physical attraction to somebody. Maybe you buy them a drink. Then you build up that courage to go over and get to know more about that person, more about their character, more about their kindness, so forth and so on. But it's that first impression that makes you want to walk over there in the first place. It's their style, the way they carry themselves, their body language. There's something about them that catches your eye visually first. And it's very, very similar with blogging. You want to attract your client or your ideal client to your blog through a really exciting or delicious photo. You want to, tease them and flirt with them through your images. When they see something that's absolutely gorgeous, they're going to want to click on it. They're going to want to eat it. They're going to want to comment on that. Because you can really have all the best content in the world. And I can tell you from experience, if your image is like bland and fuzzy, or you just like the lighting's awful, it's just not going to look great. You're not going to make a great first impression. And you're not going to exemplify the professional that you are, because odds are, even though the picture doesn't look great, I'm sure the recipe's great, or I'm sure it looked great in person. I'm sure it tasted awesome, but people don't know that. We're bombarded with a lot of information. So you can really stand out through a great image. Now, where do you get your images from? If you have original photography, that is always ideal. Maybe you can barter with a friend. I've talked to some people who are interested in taking some photos of my food, and in return, they get that food. So essentially, it's like they're getting a personal chef service for a week in exchange for photos. I also hired someone once who was just looking to build their portfolio. So I got a couple of really great images. You'll see the vegetable image that is on the slide right now was one that she had taken. My headshot was one that she had taken. So for a really, really reasonable price, I got a great handful of photos that I'm able to use over and over again. Now, if this is something you kind of want to try out for yourself, you have a really awesome camera, you have some free time, you've always been interested in photography, you could go ahead and look up some tutorials and absolutely give it a try for yourself. And kudos to you if you can write awesome blogs and take amazing pictures at the same time. And if you are really visual like that, Instagram and Pinterest are great for helping you to see how to style something, how to add garnish, how to add a napkin in the right way, how to add lighting. Those are really useful resources if you're going to take on the photos yourself. But that all being said, I would like to extremely caution that it is absolutely okay if you do not become a master at photography. You are likely already a chef, a health coach, possibly a parent, a spouse, whatever. You have enough things going on in your life, and if you can't add, like I said, master of photography in there, nobody is going to fault you for that. So in that instance, where do you get great photos? I tend to really like stock images. That's what they're there for. They're a great resource for high-res professional imagery, and they help you come across like the professional that you are. Now, they can get expensive, so some sites that I can recommend are Dollar Photo Club, Death to Stock Photography, Dreams Time. I believe I've heard, people like Getty, which is an old favorite. I'm not sure the prices are in Getty, but the ones I mentioned earlier, Dollar Photo Club, Dreams Time, Death to Stock Photography, they have some really great images. I would say, though, I highly recommend that you always pay for an image and be sure to read any and all copyright information. So usually you can select royalty-free photos, and most likely most sites will allow you to use the image on your blog if you've paid for it without photo credit. But do be sure to read the fine print, because I do know people have been cited for copyright infringement because they just, snag a photo off of the internet and use that in their blog. But you have to be mindful of what might be copyrighted and what might be someone else's intellectual property. So while, again, it's absolutely common to use it for your blog, just make sure that you're taking care of yourself, paying for the image, reading the fine print, adding credit when you have to, and so forth. And that is going to move us into our fourth fearless tip, which is one of the most important, in my opinion, probably the most important, and it's to keep moving forward. And here I'm going to just give you an onslaught of positive affirmations. So the reason I do this is because I can't stress enough how crucial moving forward and consistency is to the success of your blog. First and foremost, the key is to start. And that's really all you have to do. Get your blog up, write a few posts, add images, share it with the world. I can assure you that no one is expecting war and peace when you first put up a blog. As I mentioned earlier, award-winning content does not happen overnight. It takes years. So just start. Take the pressure off yourself. Because the only way you're going to learn, improve, and iterate is to begin. And you can't do that if you haven't started. Now, it's definitely no secret that chefs are perfectionists, and I am no exception. Let me tell you my experience here. I used to spend hours poring over each and every word of my blog. I'd test recipes like a dozen times. I'd spend days getting the right lighting and the right picture and the whole nine. I'd have multiple people check my work. It was exhausting, and it really drained my energy. And this false idea of perfection is what held me back from sharing my message with the people who needed it most. And I wasn't consistent, and I wasn't coming across like a professional because I wasn't consistent. And because I wasn't consistent, I wasn't connecting with and serving my ideal client. And this was all because I was so afraid of making a mistake. But the blog world, it really moves fast. There is always an opportunity to start over, to try again, to make it better. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was to write a blog, and when you're done, you've edited it, you bless it, and you send it, because that's all you could do. If you make a mistake, you follow up, you apologize. You go into the back end, you fix it. It's not the end of the world. But holding on to that content and keeping yourself stuck, well, that's pretty detrimental to your business. And I know you have a lot to say and share with the world. So again, it might take hundreds of blogs before you're reaching the right client or converting or monetizing. And that is why I wanted to set success expectations early on. So just, listen to feedback, trust your gut, keep moving forward. And I know that sounds easier said than done. So oftentimes I like to create some rituals around it. So, you could recite a mantra before you sit down to help you get over your fears. Make your writing space cozy and welcoming. Pour yourself some tea. Bless your blogs, like I mentioned before, sending them, or some gratitude, a prayer, a deep breath. Honor yourself and your readers. And be sure that you're always checking up on yourself weekly. Make that a habit. Stay on top of comments, feedback, analytics. Learn who's reading what, what's working, what's not. Sometimes it could be really hard to see, that people have unsubscribed, or this didn't work, or that didn't work. But you really can learn from those mistakes as well as the successes that will help you to stay consistent and keep moving forward. So just a quick review. You're going to build your virtual home, put it up, put that great site up, create some great content. It's all around you. Add a really awesome image, because first impressions matter. And whatever you do, keep moving forward. Everyone makes mistakes. You will get there in time. And from there, I'm going to just start to tell you a little bit about the service that I offer and how it came about. So at Deb's conference, there were a group of chefs, and we were all talking, and they suggested that they would love to hire someone who can help with their blogs. And like I said, I raised my hand immediately. I love to write blogs. And from there, an idea was born. And that idea actually was my culinary blog writing service, which helps you to map out your ideas, maintain consistency, attract your target audience, invite traffic and engagement, and increase your SEO. It works pretty easily. We set up an initial 30-minute phone session to discuss your monthly editorial calendar. You send any supporting information, such as recipes and photography, that we agree upon. I write a unique blog post, approximately 200 to 300 words, and then I email you an original blog that is ready for you to publish. And that's it, all ready to go. Of course, if you need help uploading, scheduling, stock imagery, professional photography, these are all things that I can help you to acquire. And so my gift to you is I love blogs. I really, really appreciate you for being here. So here's what I'd love to offer. I'm offering my regular blog service, which includes 4 original posts, again 200 to 300 words, with a 30-minute content session for $139 for the first month. And it's regularly $159. Plus, you're going to receive an additional 30-minute blog strategy session completely free. So in total, it's an hour of strategizing and content creation, plus 4 original blogs for $139 to $200 value. I'm going to start the timer, and Deb is going to put the link to the sales page in there if you'd like to take a look at what I'm offering and go ahead and snag that deal for yourself. There is no commitment. You just need to let me know about 2 weeks before you're ready to stop. You don't have to sign on for a certain duration of time.
Okay. Nikki, thank you so much for that. We do have some questions for you. So let me go ahead and tell you those now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Candace is on the line, so I'm going to have her put that link in because, she put it in the chat box already. So you guys can see that link that's in the chat box. So the first question is, this is from Sharika Dyer. Hi, Sharika. I know that you can't respond back, but we wanted to say hi. I attempted a blog a few years ago and decided to start posting again to the same blog last year, and I gave up because I didn't have many followers, but was shocked to find out I had over 7,000 views. Should I integrate these posts into my new blog? I'm just not sure what to do.
That is a great question. So if I'm hearing this correctly, she had a great post that got an amazing amount of views. She's starting a new blog and wants to know if she should incorporate or add those in.
Yes.
And I would say absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as I said before, when I was on my road trip, I wrote a blog and I transitioned all of those posts over to my new website. And you don't have to take all of them with you if there's some that you don't necessarily love. But if there's some that got a lot of views, I personally would absolutely take those over, especially if it's relevant to what you're still doing in your business. Start again, put that content up, I think there's no harm, and if anything, it's going to be really positive because people seem to have really resonated with that. So absolutely repurpose those blogs. Don't let them go to waste.
Cool. Okay. Um, Sharika, I hope that answered your question. If not, here, whenever we're done, Nikki is going to give you guys her contact information directly so you guys can contact her directly. There's actually two questions coming in from Chef Melissa. And one is, do you have any tips for naming your blog? Because I know that gets to be a frustration for a lot of people. Something, that really catches their attention, makes them want to read it. And
Mm.
that's question number one. And then the second question is, any guidelines with regard to the length the blog should be?
Okay. So to answer your first question, naming the blog, it can be really tricky because a lot of names are already taken, and B, this is something that's going to exude who you are and what your business is all about. So when I was coming up with my business name, I carried a notebook with me. I wrote every word down, every word that resonated with me. And then I went in and looked at synonyms for all of those words. And then I looked at cadences for other blogs. So for example, Cookie and Kate, dishing up the dirt. These just gave me some ideas of how people put together catchy blog titles. Maybe there are two spices you love, something and something, or there's a name that you like, or an action word. Just start to write all of that down, and you'll feel inside of you, and I know that maybe sounds a little bit hokey, but I came up with some names that I thought were cool, but inside I was just like, I don't know, I don't like it. And then you're going to keep writing words and words and words, and suddenly something's just going to feel really good to you. And so, for example, like I said with the Intuition Kitchen, originally it was Intuition Kitchen, but then that was swooped up and taken. So then you add a the. You can, with chefs, you can add a lot of nouns to the end, like the something something plate, the something something dish, the something something feast. Like there's a lot of ways that you can work with words. I think for me it's just a matter of getting that real word that resonates with you first and foremost. So just keep a list, create a vision board, whatever your creative process is. Really just get words on paper. It's the best way to start. To answer your question about length, this is interesting because everyone always has a different answer. I will tell you, when it comes to SEO, for example, I used Yoast SEO, and it won't give you the green light saying it's good to go for SEO unless you have at least 300 words. So that's usually around where I like to play. However, you don't really want to do anything simply because of SEO. It also has to make sense. So if it's, a couple words shorter, that's fine. If it's a little bit longer, that's fine. The one thing I would just say is people do tend to have pretty short attention spans these days, maybe always. So if you kind of go on and on and on, you might lose people along the way. Sometimes when I look at a blog, I hate to say it, I just skip right down to the recipe. So write something really engaging, keep it focused, keep it on track, and just see what flows. I think around the 300 range is a decent marker. Yeah, and like I said, I think just really reining yourself in is important because if you go off on a tangent, 600, 700, you might start to lose people at some point in time.
Cool. Our next question is from Andrea, and she says, do you use an RSS feed on your blog to help readers get your content via email? Sorry, guys, my dog is barking.
No?
If so, is there a particular feed you recommend?
Okay, yes, and I'll start with yes first. So yes, I do have an RSS feed. So essentially, for anyone who doesn't know what that is, when people sign up for my newsletter, what essentially they're receiving is my weekly blog post because I kind of felt like I was doubling up by writing a blog, letting it sit on the website, and then writing something completely different in my newsletter. So because I put so much time and energy into my blog, I also wanted people to be able to receive that in their inbox too. So that's kind of the benefit of an RSS feed. It sort of kills two birds with one stone. And so, yeah, I do use that. And I had it set up by my web designer, and she did it in this really cool way that when it came through into someone's inbox, it also picked up the title of the blog. So it didn't just say, post from Intuition Kitchen. It would say the name of the blog post, which was often a lot more exciting than just my business name. As far as which service, I'm not sure. I could likely ask her and get back to you, or if you email me, I could put you in touch with a designer who can help you. I'm sure there are ways you could do it yourself, but I don't feel savvy enough for that, so I definitely outsourced that process.
Nikki, go ahead before we go to the next question and tell them your email address as well as your phone number, please.
Sure. For email, it's Nikki, Nikki, at The Intuition Kitchen, 3 words, theintuitionkitchen.com. And my phone number is 917-838-5092. So it's 917-838-5092.
Okay. Another question that we have, let me find it, is by Chef Tracy. Hi, Tracy. How often should you post a blog? Daily, weekly, or monthly?
That's a great one. So I can tell you off the bat, monthly is likely not enough because, again, you want to create this space for people where they are checking up on you, or you're really giving them a lot of great content. And I feel like nowadays the envelope is being pushed to weekly, and I know some people like Deb even do it daily. Daily, if you do it daily, I would definitely say keep it really short so that you're not giving a lot away. I forgot, there was a post, I think it was like the Daily Love or something, and they would every day they'd give you like a really great quote and a quick synopsis on the quote. So if you're doing it daily, I would recommend, keeping it short so people can check in and check out. But I think weekly is a really good place to start, and I think it's where a lot of people have netted out these days. Like I said, I don't think monthly is enough. And I think when people go to your blog because they want to find out more about your service and they see that you've updated recently, I really think that says a lot about you and your business. So if you can do it, and I think you can, I would say weekly is definitely probably my best recommendation.
Cool. Okay. We've got around 5 minutes left, so if you guys want to take advantage of Nikki's offer, you guys go ahead and click on that site, the link in the chat section. We do have just a couple of more questions, but before I get to those, did you have some questions ahead of time that people had emailed you that they wanted answered?
We did get a couple of questions on the Facebook page that I can go over. One of them was about length, which we did discuss. Another one, which kind of is a springboard off of length, was what happens when you find yourself either oversharing or your blog is getting like really, really long, like pages. And I think that's a really great question to answer because I think we do essentially have a lot to say, and when we find that sweet spot, the words just start coming and the stories just start coming and woo, we just write away. The thing about a blog is, like I said, if we're sticking to about the 300 word mark or even, 500 word mark, you don't really want to go much beyond that. So when you're writing, think about, if it's starting to get really long, is there a way that you could split that content into maybe 2 posts, like a post and then a nurture sequence where you follow up with it? I think that gives people a reason to check back in with you. And another really great writer's tip is to kill your darlings. And that is something that is really hard at first and then gets a lot easier down the line. And what that basically means is if your writing is just getting way too verbose and your sentences are really long, even if you think it's really witty and clever, at some point you have to say, or you have to ask yourself, does this have anything to do with my topic? Is this really funny joke actually essential? And if not, it might pain you to do so, but you got to just remove it and take it out, because otherwise you kind of start taking people on these tangents and they get lost. So just really know what you want to say before you start writing and stay focused as much as you can.
Okay, Nikki, this next one is, this may be elementary, but should your blog and business name be the same? I noticed some sites where they do not match.
That's interesting. I would say yes. Like if you have a website, I think that a blog being on your website is the perfect place for it because it kind of all ties together. I'm a chef, here's my cool food blog. And then when people come to look and find you for your services and they see this blog, like I said, it's what helps to establish you as a credible professional in your field. And if your blog is kind of over somewhere else and they never see that, they just might not know all the great things that you have to offer. Or if they stumble upon your blog, they might not know that you have all these great services you offer. I think to keep it seamless, I would definitely put it together. Unless your blog is about something completely different, like you're a personal chef, but you love to blog about movies. That's kind of irrelevant, and that could be like a separate passion project.
Cool. Um, One other thing I wanted to tell you guys real quick, where we get some of our content for our blogs is if you guys will go to Pinterest and on each board that you go to Pinterest, if you type something in about your business, special dietary needs or cooking classes, you guys will see a number on those boards of how many people are sharing and liking and posting and pinning and all of those other things. The higher the number, then you know that people are doing a lot with that particular topic or board. So naming your post kind of like what that board is, or using those keywords helps a lot. Just a little bit of tidbit advice. Here's another question. How do you find out if a blog name is already taken?
Yeah. So if the blog name is obviously going to be, say, the URL name, I would guess, that would be one and the same. Just go to GoDaddy.com and you could type it in and it will tell you what's available. Like the .com might not be available, but the .biz might be available. It'll show you, but as I mentioned before, I kind of just feel like it's necessary to say it again. If you type it into GoDaddy a couple of times, they're going to say, ooh, people are interested in this, and they're going to buy it, and then they're going to try to sell it to you for like $300, so, or maybe even more. So once you find something you like and you know it's available, I would kind of recommend jumping on that as soon as possible. If I had other recommendations other than GoDaddy, I would definitely recommend them, but I kind of don't know any others. That's usually the one that I go to see if names are available.
Cool. Thank you, Chef Tara. That was from her. We have another question from Chef Melissa. And we have a new name and are close to launching a new website with blog. That said, should the blog name be the same as our business name, or can it be different?
I mean, if there's a reason for it to be different, you know, if I would love to hear if there was a bit of a thought process behind why you might want it to be different, then I guess perhaps. But as I mentioned, typically what I've seen is, business name, and then when you hop on over to the blog, there'll be a little bit of a blurb, like a couple of cute words or, a sentence that describes what the blog is going to be about or the type of stuff you're going to post, what your perspective is. I'm not sure if I've ever seen someone name the blog something separate from their business, but if you want to email me your thoughts on that and I can maybe get into your head a little bit more, I'm more than happy to talk to you more about it. But traditionally, I would say I think that a blog on the website is just kind of like another tab on the website, so to speak.
Cool. One last thing, and we're going to let everybody go. The question is, Nikki, they're wanting to know if you would mind sending them a copy of your slides.
Sure.
Cool. Everybody, we can definitely, along with the recording, we can get those slides sent to you guys. Just give us a few days to process that. And so we are a few minutes past the hour, and I don't see any more questions on the question section. You guys have Nikki's information to follow up on. You guys also have the link to get the special that she was offering. Nikki, thank you so much for being on the call. I know that I learned a lot, and you made blogging so simple. And you guys are welcome to follow up with her. I hope everyone has, for me, an amazing evening, because I'm in Central Standard Time and I see chefs all over the call. So you guys all have a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.